It's like a modern day Princess Bride. Stardust, released in 2007 and directed by Matthew Vaughn. A production budget of $70 million, domestic take of $38 million, international take of $98 million, for a worldwide total of $137 million and a profit of $67 million, not including marketing and associated costs, of course. But that is a tragedy, dead set. For a movie this good, it should have made so much more. It legitimately boggles my mind why this movie had so little marketing when it was released. Starring Claire Danes, Michelle Pfeiffer, Robert De Niro, Charlie Cox, and Mark Strong. Also featuring Peter O'Toole, Sir Ian McKellen, Ricky Gervais, and so on and so on. This movie's full of actors you've seen before all over the place. And believe it or not, this is Henry Cavill. Like seriously, lots of them. Characters. Okay, this movie is so full of excellent, well done, entertaining and intriguing characters. At this stage, the relative newcomer, Charlie Cox, does a great job as the male lead. Lots of fun, a real sincere, innocent, yet brave and courageous sort of character. The character that dreams big, wants to be more than he is, chases his dream deep into fairy tale land. Claire Danes' character, the fallen star, she is also fantastic. She starts off as a very grumpy, cranky, upset character, hard to get along with, and understandably so, and turns into this very complicated, sweet, and really quite likable character later on. Mark Strong as Septimus, a very powerful and engaging, a sinister yet charismatic character. Robert De Niro as the pirate captain Shakespeare, an amazing character, one of my favorite characters that he's ever played. But to be honest, it's watching Michelle Pfeiffer, one of the most beautiful women in film, having a ball being this sinister, ugly hag. I mean, malicious and evil, vile-looking creature. I mean, yeah, sure, she Michelle Pfeiffers it up when she eats the magic star bits. Star bits, technical term. Yeah, you'll understand if you watch the movie. Beautifully done. It's just such a well-done character. And every other support character in this movie is just as good as all the leads. There are no weak points. For example, the ghosts. There's these, like, what, 6 ghosts that are hanging around in the movie? They just sit around and make snide commentary. But it's just, like, so good and such an involved and excellent part of the film. Look, without exaggeration, I'm going to go and say that this is some of the best characterizations I've ever seen. So I mean it when I say it, that I'm going to go and give characters in this movie a 5. Story. The story in this film is a piece of art in itself. It's a modern day fairy tale in the veins of Princess Bride. The original story was written by Neil Gaiman, and he had a lot to do with the screenplay. While he didn't write the screenplay, he had a lot of influence in the screenplay. He had a lot to do and say with it. And the transition from book to film was very, very nicely done. They're not the same, they never are the same, but this one still holds up as something special. It's a love story, it's an adventure story, it's a bit of a fantasy action story. It's got sinister elements. Actually, now think about it, it's got a lot of murder in this. Like, there's a considerable body count at the end of this one, I think. Yeah, but you don't really notice that aspect as much because it's also funny and sincere and sweet and adventurous. All the action hits land, all the jokes are solid. The pacing and the plot, surprisingly good. I say surprisingly because every now and then it feels like it's slowing down or something, they've missed something or you've missed something. But then it gets revealed a little bit later on, as you haven't missed anything, everyone was confused as you were, and then they deliver some exposition. I'll explain all that later, but needless to say, it's actually really well done. But the story takes you on this fantastic whirlwind tour of this fairyland, the magical realm of Stormhold. And it's all about kings, princes chasing a crown, the shop boy chasing his heart, a star fallen to earth, witches on the hunt for her. It's a coming of age story, it's a romance, it's a comedy action adventure, and it has one of my favourite montages of pretty much all montage history. Seriously, it's set on a flying boat. Yes, I've just been babbling about how wonderful it is and I haven't really told you very much about it. It's because I want you to go watch it. So I'll be giving Story a 4.5. It is just such a good time. Look and feel. This is a textbook case of taking X amount of dollars and making it look 2 to 3 times that much in value. Polish and presentation, the world building, the cinematography, the lighting, the sound, the effects. Okay, the effects aren't always that good. There's a couple of times of very definitely CGI effects. But then you just move along with the rest of the story because it's all just fits together so well. And if you're paying attention, there's a whole bunch of really tricky camera shots that make it look more complicated or dramatic than it actually is. The sets and the props and the costume design. The whole thing about the magical world of Stormhold is that it's the same yet very different, or magical and fantastical, but you recognize it still. Quite clever. Again, means you didn't have to go redesign the wheel, but they made the wheel look real funky and interesting. The backdrops and locations, just gorgeous. The music is your classic adventure fantasy sort of stuff. It's got your grand swelling adventure music and then your rhythmic bass sort of stuff when there's a chase on. And the way that they achieve their magical effects despite their limited budget is very, very clever. Humans are turned into goats or mice or something like that. And they get away with it by doing it from the point of view of the person that's getting transformed. They just have like vision changing and then it's suddenly the animal they've become. Very clever, very engaging, doesn't break the moment, and also doesn't break the budget. And real quick, the airship. This thing has inspired so many of my D&D games. That caught my imagination all those years ago and has never let go. So for look and feel, I'll be giving this a 4.25 because... Actually, no, this is getting a 4.5 because even with the somewhat budget CGI, it's still so much better than many other movies out there. Script and dialogue. Okay, the key thing about this, I think, what really works for me is it doesn't treat its audience as stupid. It'll say a thing, it'll explain a thing, it'll move along. It lets you make the connections, it lets you see the world that it is without you having to tell you about the world that it is. There's one particular scene where the hero is getting his hair cut, but it works in reverse. He's got short hair at the beginning of the haircut, he's got long hair at the end of it. He looks confused about this, but no explanation is given. They also avoid overusing the sword and sorcery aspect. There is sword play, there is sword fighting, but it isn't a swashbuckling Errol Flynn thing. It's more reserved for key moments. And speaking of key moments, there's one particular sequence I shall describe in this, where Yvain the Star, she's sitting down and she's attached to a tree because Tristan's run off to get some food and doesn't want her running off because, well, as you'll find out. But randomly, a unicorn turns up, cuts the magic cord, she hops on the back of it, and they ride off together. Tristan comes back, he's very upset by this. I was kind of annoyed too, going, that's cool and everything, but why? Why? There's no reason. But then while he's having a nap, the stars whisper to him and explain that they sent the unicorn to rescue their sister, but now the unicorn and the sister are in danger from which he needs to get up and be a hero. He wakes up from the dream and the stars are still talking to him. He runs off and saves the day. Exposition via starlight. Don't think I've ever seen that before, and I probably won't ever see that again. And real quick, the dialogue from all the dead princes, their carry-on observations and muckabout, that is such an effective thing. It's very simple, but visually and story-wise, it's gold. And I've only just realised they deliver a lot of plot and explanation exposition. Again, disguised as a very, very cool element in the film. Script and dialogue, it gets a 4.5. It's smart and it's funny. It's well thought out and extremely well crafted. Fun factor, guess what? I had a really good time. Could you tell all I've done is babble about all the cool bits? I haven't really told you much about the movie other than it's really cool, you should go watch it. And that's because it's really cool and you should go watch it. All you have to do is remember it's 2007. It's on a $70 million budget, which isn't that big for Hollywood these days. It's a modern day fairy tale. It covers a lot of ground very quickly and isn't going to stop to explain everything for you either. If nothing else, you can go play Spot the Actor that you've seen before in every other movie. There are so many in this film. It's like, I've seen him on TV. I've seen him on TV. I've seen that one on the movie. I've seen this one in that movie. Just bing, 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 bing. They just keep popping up. If you like romantic adventures with a twist of fantasy in them, this movie's for you. Do yourself a favor. Go check it out. It's an easy 4.5. I'd be very surprised if you didn't enjoy this one. Final score, add them all together, it gets a 23. Now, I have to admit, I have an extreme soft spot and strong bias for this movie. But that's what you're going to get. Whenever you get up in the high scores, you know what? It's no longer an objective review, it's a personal opinion. Much like when you hate a movie and you give it a rotten review, same deal. It's one of the few movies I will not give any ground on. I'll fight you on this one. I love it. It's amazing. It's one of my favorites. Okay, enough fanboying for me. That's my review of Stardust. What did you think? I hope you enjoyed it as well if you've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, once again, go watch it. Anyhow, thanks for joining me. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I hope you're having a great week and should make some time to go and watch a movie.